good late Tuesday, early Wednesday meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, giving you a look at that current Doppler radar picture across North Florida, South Georgia, the region. You can see those temperatures here right now, upper 40s, lower 50s for the most part. No shower activity around, anything like that. Those winds here, seeing some of those here in play with some coastal flood advisories and the like as we're looking toward the East Coast there, but nothing too concerning here at this point. So that's the good news as we're looking at things here. But again, we'll keep watching things. If you look really carefully, there are some showers off of Brevard County. Now they had rocket launch there earlier on as we were looking on that Tuesday evening with some satellites and the like. But again, I just kind of giving you guys a vantage point here of this view. Really a pretty calm picture, and over the next 7 days, expecting a pretty calm pattern with the exception of Friday here, where we could have some shower and storm acts. And I know Friday's not the greatest day for that. FSU homecoming, the FSU homecoming parade, and then high school football, though I think it'd be more about the afternoon and the parade maybe having an impact than for those high school football games. But we'll just kind of wait and see with that. By the way, no formal update Thursday night. We're going to have that night off there. But of course, if there's anything severe, which we're not really expecting right now, we'll let you guys know about that here as we look ahead toward Friday. But other than Friday, it's going to be about as calm as they can get around here. Not too big of a change in the overall setup in terms of the temperature trends. So that's kind of the good news if you like what we're doing with. A little bit warmer. I mean, it's going to moderate here and then cool back down a bit. But overall, we're not going to see a huge shift one way or the other here, as you'll see in our extended forecast. So I know yesterday morning there now, back on that Tuesday morning, got down to 43 where we're at east of Stark in that rural location. Not going to quite get that cold as we're looking ahead in the nights to come here, but we are down to 47 here where we're at this point. So going to get closer to that here tonight, but as we look ahead, not expecting to be quite that chilly, but still something, if you like the cool weather, something we don't get as often here this time of year, but we're going to moderate some. Again, not a huge difference in the numbers, but it will make it feel a little bit nicer out there for you guys. I know, luckily, we're not seeing anything like what we had last Thursday morning. I mean, that was a heck of a severe weather situation there that we were dealing with. I mean, just really concerning there. We had multiple strong tornadoes in the nocturnal time frame along their areas in the Florida Peninsula. That's a big deal. We had 80-degree temperature readings even at around sunrise or so in some of these areas. I mean, that was one of the really parameters in play. But then we had just a lot of wind shear as well. A really dynamic setup. We're lucky we didn't have any fatalities here from the tornadic activity. I mean, it could have been really serious in that regard. Crystal River getting hit so hard, just that set of area in Citrus County. I mean, they had Idalia 6 weeks ago or so, now getting to closer to 7 weeks as we're looking into the timeline. And I mean, but 6 weeks apart between disasters, and then having a situation we had Flagler County, Palm Coast get hit by a EF2 tornado, part of that zone to be Saxon, and then that was in our covered area, and then going down toward areas like Dunedin and Clearwater, another EF2 down that way. So what a big deal that was as we were looking at things. Just seeing the ASKO again, considerable damage out of those. I know that Crystal River one a little bit stronger than the other two. Had some other EF0s as well outside of our area in the state. I think 3 others that I saw there in the report. So really toward what we would call a tornado outbreak, actually. Something you don't see too often in Florida. And the El Nino pattern, we're going to have to get used to this potential here. Hopefully, most, if not all, these are not to that level. We hope none of them are, but honestly, wouldn't be surprised if some of them are as we look ahead in the months to come. I mean, in these months here going all the way into towards spring, we're going to have to kind of pay attention for that potential here because this is the type of setup that can give you, I mean, cool air, but then you get moderation there, and eventually you get more dynamic setups. Not expecting that for Friday, though, but and then you get a situation we have all that warm air coming, and you have the wind shear, and you get more stormy conditions here in play, and more favorable setups for severe weather and tornadoes than you generally have in other years here. So just got to be on guard for that. But right now, we're not concerned about that potential really as we look toward Friday. Maybe an isolated strong or severe storm on Friday, but it'd be a random threat here, and probably not the tornadic kind either. But if something changes, we'll let you guys know as we're seeing things, even down towards central South Florida. I mean, you see these readings in the 40s there north of Tampa right now. You don't get that all that often this time of year around Brooksville. So definitely some cool air coming in as we're looking at things here in the Sunshine State. As I kind of zoom out the picture a little bit more, again, a pretty calm view on things. So I know as we're looking toward different things here across the country, I want to look back at that partial solar eclipse, the annular solar eclipse as that were back there last Saturday. Have a visible satellite loop that's pretty interesting here. We're going to see this quite a bit through here over and over because what it shows here, if you look toward areas of Oregon, Nevada there, areas out toward New Mexico and Texas, and some other states here in between, a situation here where you could actually see the clouds go away because there was so little sunlight there toward that area. Even out toward our area, you see a little bit of that. We had that view about 54% obstruction when we were right east of Stark at that peak there. I would have my solar eclipse glasses on there for that period there Saturday afternoon, getting a view of myself. Pretty interesting. Of course, had to wear the glasses even out west, even when they had the annular peak. But next year there's going to be a total solar eclipse out west. Now here to be torso again, save those glasses for that next year here if you're not headed out west. But what an event that's going to be next year, coming up from Texas, going across Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, just to name some of the states, going even further up toward the northeast as well. You got to look at the exact details. I know I retweeted something at Cloud Casey on Twitter, Cloud Casey on X there, the X platform. You can look at that, and we'll be having more on that in the months to come. It's going to be tremendous what we're going to see out of that there coming up next year in 2024. I got to see the total solar eclipse in 2017 out toward South Carolina there, and it was remarkable. I didn't have the clouds in play to mess with that, and we had some of the clouds here. You can kind of see that it was kind of watch the FSU game for a few minutes, go back outside, cloud would clear, look at the eclipse and go back and forth here as they had the situation kind of really allow for. So again, that's what the loop looked like on the visible satellite on Saturday. Again, if you look there, you can see how the clouds and the overall picture just kind of goes away because we had so little sunlight there, because the visible satellite, it uses the sunlight to be able to see the clouds, and you can kind of see that path that goes even further south out of this view. But again, Oregon, Nevada, you see around areas around Utah there, and around areas of Arizona, New Mexico, and getting in toward Texas there. So again, kind of giving you guys that view there. Pretty tremendous to see. Again, at the end of it, you don't see it. You don't see it at the beginning of it here, or they go back to the beginning of it right after it comes across here, and it's a pretty interesting view. Again, you just see the clouds go away there, that path kind of streaking on through there. It's even a little bit more prominent when you have a total solar eclipse. But a situation here, I mean, it's still pretty interesting to see. I mean, a total solar eclipse here. I mean, it's going to be a lot more prominent on the ground itself, though, as you're going to have, like, birds chirping, and the light. I think it's nighttime or dusk there or dawn, something like that here. Pretty remarkable when you have that coming into play here. I mean, that'd be right during the day, and this not quite that level here, but still kind of telling the storyline here for sure. So let's go ahead and move away from this now as we kind of get through that. Showing you guys our current look at things once again here across the region, across Florida and into Georgia. I see some 40s. I mean, honestly, we're pretty cool compared to some of the other parts in the country. Look at South Carolina. They're warmer than us right now. North Carolina, I mean, I said 47. That's what we're at right now here. Look at the Carolinas. They're warmer for the most part, except Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, and they had some wintry weather up that way if you're looking back there. But you can kind of see here around Missouri about the same where we're at right now. And look at Oklahoma. By the way, you see a little icon there in Texas with our modeling, which is something I'm going to have to touch on here in a moment. But as we're kind of looking at things here, you can kind of see here 50s and 60s there in Oklahoma, Kansas. I mean, look at this, Nebraska even. They're warmer than us right now here at this hour than we're at. Even around Denver, they're warmer than us. I mean, look at this. I mean, it's earlier in the timeline. You're still in around 9:30 Pacific time out here, but I mean, you see temperatures warmer than us out here. Even had a tornado warning, road tornado warning. They're just north of Portland Monday, so that was kind of interesting. But I was kind of hinting at it. Our models here are pulling in something from the tropics. This is a tropical storm Norma here in the Pacific, and what it's going to do, it's not going to maybe be a tropical system once it gets toward the U.S. It's going to weaken out, going to maybe become a major hurricane or close toward that here as you look toward the Pacific. That pattern with El Nino more active in the Pacific. We already saw that with Hillary. That storm system making landfall there earlier on in the year in California, which is remarkable, or at least moving through as a tropical storm in California, I should say. But again, just a crazy set of circumstances there, and we're looking back out toward this area of the country. I mean, just the overall pattern here, the overall setup, and what we could see, you see that green pattern there with the T's that indicates maybe not a tropical storm actually, but a lower pressure coming into the pattern. Kind of what we saw a little bit of with our severe weather here last week from a Pacific system coming on through, kind of coming into the pattern here and causing some issues. Well, this one could come up and cause severe weather in the middle of next week. It's probably early on the edge of the science, but since we're not going to have a full update Thursday, it's worth mentioning here maybe in more the middle of next week here as we look ahead. It could be closer to even after that next update scheduled for next Tuesday night. We could have a area of low pressure here, and we could have an overall pattern that becomes more favorable for severe storms in the Midwest. Not really necessarily locally as we're looking there, but in the Midwest it could be a more favorable pattern for some severe weather out there. It's very early on the edge of the science, and we have another system we're going to have to watch in the Atlantic here. You see these icons. This indicates maybe a storm system developing. I know, again, pretty quiet locally. We're not too concerned at all, don't get me wrong. We could end up having Tammy here develop in the Atlantic pretty quickly. It could become a hurricane, but you see the curvature way away from the continental U.S. We'll watch it for Puerto Rico. Right now it says stay away from Puerto Rico, but if something changes to that, we'll let you know there as well. But I know we already crossed Sean off the list here. They're going over the graphics right now. You can see Tammy, Vincent, Whitney, the last three names here. The hurricane season running for a little over a month. We had Nicole last year, of course. That was in November. I mean, it's been an even busier season in terms of the names this year. Of course, we had Idalia. We're never going to forget about that one here toward our local counties, especially areas toward Dixie, toward Taylor, and the like. Can't forget about that one. There's such a big time impact, but in the U.S. otherwise, the season, honestly, so far, besides that one, which was just terrible, the storm surge causing the devastation for other parts of the country, at least it could have been worse for us. We took the worst blow of anybody from the tropics this year. Now, you could almost make the argument we had in the Pacific, of course, the system with the wildfires there, that kind of with Dora, different iteration of Dora there. We had our one there in the Atlantic in 64, but in the Pacific we had no wind from that causing all the wildfires, which was just so catastrophic. It was a factor in that. But looking here, you see Tammy, Vince, and Whitney. As we're looking here, we also had the Guam situation, the typhoon going back as well. So there's some different things, but continental U.S. wise, the worst was Idalia here for sure. So again, as you look though, we still watch things. We could end up getting to the next alternate name list here as we look ahead. I don't generally get to names that's what replace the Greek alphabet, but if we do, we'll let you guys know those names. I don't want to get into that too much yet, since right now things aren't really looking like they're threatening our area with these cool fronts coming through. That generally would keep things away from our area here at this point, unless we had a homegrown type of threat maybe come into play. But even with that, a pattern just wasn't favorable for it to become tropical last week. It was something that was really favorable for severe weather, like what we saw, a number of tornado warnings, a number of tornadoes in the state. Again, more of a severe weather pattern for us in general. But again, right now, I gave it a description here, the storyline. Right now, things are going to be pretty calm for us for the next week here. Nothing tomorrow, and real concern for us here over even maybe a little bit longer than that for North Florida and South Georgia. So, that's the good news there. Let's go ahead and look at the tropical climatology. I was kind of hinting at it. I mean, we have the chances of storms going down pretty quickly here now as we got past October 10th. Kind of got past that with a tornado threat. So maybe weren't thinking about other things. Of course, the anniversary of Michael was so serious, but you can see here as we look ahead, November, except for Nicole and Kate, haven't really had too many storms. Nicole last year, Kate in 85, and that was terrible to warn. There was around the Big Bend around Tallahassee, but besides those two, we haven't had too many of really noteworthy status here over the years, which is good, obviously. So that's what we like to see, but again, we'll just continue to track things here in the Weather Center just in case something were to come together. But right now, we're not too concerned with the tropics here as we look at our rainfall forecast for the next 7 days. Again, pretty quiet. Could have some storms around Tallahassee, unfortunately, right at the wrong time in time for that FSU homecoming parade. But you see the pattern moves to the east here toward the eastern Bahamas and the like. As we look ahead out there in the timeline, you can kind of see here again, maybe a quarter inch southeast Georgia there, and the Big Bend, maybe a little less on average here. Of course, you can go to cloudweather.com/radar for an active look at things. Most of that rain maybe toward Friday again, so not the greatest timing for that here as we look. And then you see our college football forecast. Since we're not going to update Friday, there early Friday, late Thursday, unless we have some severe weather to talk about. This is that FSU homecoming forecast there. Number 16 Duke. The Duke Blue Devils 5-1 there. At the number 4 Florida State Seminoles 6-0. So not an easy test there for the Seminoles. We'll continue to look at that there, depending on if the Duke quarterback plays. If the starter that's been playing most of the year until he got hurt against Notre Dame doesn't play, then maybe a little bit easier. Also, I know big games like the Ohio State showdown there, they're going to have that against Penn State on Saturday at noon on Fox. This one's 7:30 on ABC, but that one's going to be a big one. I think Penn State maybe ought to win that game there. We've talked about them in the rankings. Don't have an updated set of rankings this week, but Penn State here, I have had them higher than Ohio State here in the days and weeks here in the past. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. But we'll see what happens there, college football wise. But you see the forecast looking pretty nice for this game. Mid-60s, just a 5% chance of rain, Roy, just in case. But partly cloudy, breezy to an extent there. Nothing too overwhelming here. Really looks pretty nice. Now, Friday afternoon homecoming parade, though, Saturday storms are possible. So gotta keep that in mind there. Gotta keep that in mind. Just keep an eye on that radar. If there's anything severe, well, you know. But keep in mind that we might not have maybe something that gets to severe. But we could have a situation where there could be some lightning around. It's not out of the question there in this type of pattern right at that wrong time. So right around, I believe it's 2 o'clock there for that parade. That's when we normally have it there. And whenever thunder roars, go indoors, obviously. So just got to keep that in mind. But for the event Saturday, the weather looks really nice. That's the good news there as we're looking at things. I believe, and this is kind of interesting, I was going over it in my mind earlier this year, but at the times are kind of weird to get you a little bit confused sometimes. I believe the FSU homecoming parades are 2 o'clock generally. The UF ones are at noon, and Bradford's normally at 1. So, general pattern for those times and stuff as we're looking there. But again, looking right now toward our covered area, just reminding you guys, if we have any tornado warning storm, which we're not expecting here over the next 7 days, if we had a chance of that, it'd be Friday. Then we'd be on all the different platforms, of course, to give you guys the latest. We were on for hour after hour there Thursday there in the wee hours. I mean, from about 1 to about 9 or so. We're only giving you the latest. I mean, it's almost non-stop here, just standing in front of the chroma key because we had just so many areas of concern, even down just outside of the area. I mean, Citrus County, just outside of the area, got absolutely hammered by a number of tornado warnings. Only one confirmed one that was really significant, though, around Crystal River and the Bonaire area because of what Idalia did in late August. But again, there's all the different platforms. Of course, if you're going to have a severe thunderstorm warning, we'll let you guys know. And if it's towards like Tallahassee during the parade, probably be almost a sure thing to be coming on for that. I mean, other situations may be requiring us to come on as well if we had a rogue thunderstorm warning, severe thunderstorm warning, and that's for when you have 60-mile-an-hour winds and/or quarter-size hail potential. We got to keep in mind that it's always important right around that parade time because we have a rogue lightning strike. It's too early for the specifics, so honestly can't really get into those sometimes until right then. It's kind of a flip of the coin, 50-50 or so there. Right toward the parade time, we have some lightning around that could cause some problems. So I just don't want folks called out sheltered toward Leon County Friday afternoon for that FSU homecoming parade. So we still maybe having some or having some other events here across the area for high school homecomings and the like. That's something you got to always keep in mind. We have different activities as well in play, but the model's really coming right now in toward some type of focus, maybe toward Tallahassee around 2 o'clock Friday for some shower and storm activity. Again, not an overwhelming situation. That's about the only thing of much note here, honestly, in the forecast for the next 7 days. But since we're not coming on Thursday night, and things look pretty calm otherwise, I just want to make sure we emphasize that. You're better to be safe than sorry, as we always do here at Cloud Weather. So again, just kind of giving you guys that rundown. So here's the extended look at things. Clear on that Wednesday here. 45, going to be pretty cool still. But you see the warm up here, 78 on Thursday, 79 on Friday. So warming up some more then. The low a little bit higher, more cloud cover around, and then rain chance for the area is about 40%, but probably for that parade time, closer to 50%, maybe even 55, 60% there. Toward Tallahassee around the middle of the afternoon. So just have to kind of watch things there carefully. And you see toward Saturday dropping back down though for the game itself, that night game might be a little cool for folks as we showed you mid-60s there. Might want a light jacket, but shouldn't need anything more than that. So that's the good news when we're looking at things like that. A little bit of breeze there at the time of that, and a little cool. So with the overall air temperatures, that's something to kind of keep in mind. But then Sunday, pretty nice overall, 79 for the high there. See up to 80 for that Monday, and 81 on that Tuesday. So warming back up a little bit, more moderation there. So eventually, nothing that's in the modeling right now, but eventually, I mean, we could get this warmer air in play that kind of maybe ultimately we see a situation where we have more of an active pattern down the road, but no hint of that for our local area at this point. Maybe in the country, though, there are some hints of that toward the Midwest, but nothing like the Turner logo red or anything to that level at this point. But if something changes, we'll let you guys know here. Of course, our next formal update will be on Tuesday night. If we need a break in for anything Friday, we will. That's about the only chance of that happening unless there's some type of anomaly here in toward the weather world as we're looking ahead across the country that we're not anticipating here over the next 7 days. If there's just some terrible thing like an earthquake or something, I mean, that's just, I'm giving an example here. We've never had to do that before and shouldn't have to, but there's always terrible things that can technically happen in the overall weather world. So again, we always kind of keep that in the back of our mind there. But again, talking about just something extreme, but again, I hate to even bring it up as we go ahead and go back on over here toward some of the tropical views of things. We'll watch this here. Let's go ahead and go back on over and toward this area right now, our local viewpoint. You can see here, looking at things again, we were talking about the little areas there towards some more different regions, and then also look at the tropics there and how that could impact severe weather next week. And we talked about the eclipse there as well. Solar eclipse on Saturday, of course. Monday, April 8, 2024 is when we're going to have that total solar eclipse towards states like Texas and Arkansas, Missouri, part of those states, and going further up in Illinois and the like there. You got to check the exact areas, though, and then the times to kind of get an idea and partial for our areas to save those glasses if you're not making travel plans out west. For that, just an experience that we're not going to see in the country again until 2045, which will be right here in our own backyard down. But that's a long way down the road, and you never know how the weather will be. It's going to be in August, and we could always have afternoon storms. We're not going to talk about the forecast for that far out here, obviously, for many years to come. So, again, as we see here, looking at the overall information, again, high school football could have a sour or something as we look Friday night, but the focal point of the worst of it should be kind of out of the way here in time for most of those kickoffs here and those games around. So that's the good news here. That's the good news in that regard. So I know Bradford's taking on Lecanto Friday night. They're coming up from Citrus County, ironically. We're not quite in the war covering their area per se, but we talked about them more probably than we have in any situation here since they've been doing this, because they just got absolutely hammered last week. Of course, Crystal River, they got hit pretty hard by Idalia. They're just outside of a covered area, but then, I mean, they just had a tornado warning situation where they just had one after another with rotation on radar, kind of on the edge of the radar coverage, but they were under a tornado warning when that one hit. Crystal River giving the heads up to Tampa Ruskin office. Same with storm around Clearwater, Dunedin. There, as we're looking at things, of course, toward our area, Flagler County. There were a number of tornado warnings, but as of now, I haven't seen any that actually verify. We did have the tornado, though, touch down within a severe thunderstorm warning at EF2 and Palm Coast. So that was one where it had a tornado possible tag on it, but they weren't under an official tornado warning when that hit there. But luckily, nobody heard anything like that, which is the good news. But again, looking here at things across our region, just seeing if there's any questions or any comments here. Again, I'm just seeing there's quite a few comments. It looks like quite a few of them here. Again, just thanks so much. Just thanks so much for tuning in. Yeah, Sean here. That wasn't of too much consequence. It doesn't seem. And I know, just kind of intriguing here. So again, we'll just continue to look at things here. Continue to look at things here as we kind of get ahead here in toward that timeline. I know, looks like Marcus here asking about on YouTube one of the zip codes up here further on up in the country, I would assume. So let's go ahead and kind of check that one on out here. So let me go ahead and do that real quick on my other source, and we'll kind of see here what we're talking about. It looks like parts of Wisconsin there, the Birchwood, Wisconsin area. Just kind of giving you guys a random look at things across the country. The Marcus is asking about that, so I'll move this map up real quick, and we'll look up toward Wisconsin here, and you'll be able to see here the overall situation up that way. I know tonight in the 40s, not that much colder than more out here in Florida, but only warming up into the 50s. And same there with some shower activity around, possibly toward that, period ahead, Wednesday into Thursday. Breezy conditions, 50s, and then going down to the 30s up that way. And kind of 50s to 40s to 30s in there, back and forth. So be some gusty winds we get further into next week here. That might be a little more prominent based on what I'm seeing up there in that part of the country. So that's just because of your question there from Marcus there on YouTube watching about that forecast up that way as we look further on up. So again, kind of a seeing there a pattern that's kind of intriguing there. At least for what we see around our area, but I mean, right now it's pretty similar, but it will be kind of staying cooler there as we're looking further on up there toward what we would call the upper Midwest. So again, just continuing to give you guys everything you need here in toward the Weather Center. Just trying to kind of wrap things up, I think, for now, though. On this Tuesday night, early Wednesday here. Let's go ahead and bring the map back to home, and we'll go ahead and kind of see here what's happening. Again, seeing a situation here, that looks to be pretty mundane here for us. Pretty mundane here. For us as we're getting toward our local 62 counties, with the exception of Friday. So again, we're just gonna kind of see things here again. It's really where we're focusing here is our 62 counties. So again, we'll have that formal update here next Tuesday. That's the next one, late Tuesday, early Wednesday. But if we need to come back on earlier if something happens on that Friday period. Then we'll be letting you guys know then. But otherwise, let's have a great weekend. Go Knowles there. Hopefully get another win to go to 7-0. They're really doing a great job. Florida's off this week, by the way. The Gators are. If you guys are wondering about them in terms of college football, they're doing pretty well, actually. Not ranked, but the quarterback, I know, of course, FSU's quarterback is doing great, Jordan Travis. But the quarterback for Florida, Graham Mertz, is doing a really good job as well for that team, to be quite honest. Our rival there, but of course, so many people care about the Gators, and they're doing the best they've done in a little bit here. I think he's one of Florida's better quarterbacks, honestly. I know this is a little bit early to say, they still got tough games ahead, but honestly, I think he's one of Florida's better quarterbacks there so far since Tim Tebow. Nothing like Tebow, obviously, but still a big thing there for the Gators. Jaguars play Thursday night in New Orleans, but that's indoors. So don't have to worry about the weather, really, for that. Not that you would have to worry, really, but that's indoors there on Thursday night football. And of course, the Big Ten, I see Marcus talking about that. What a huge game that's going to be Saturday at noon there Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, depending on where you're watching from on Fox, between Ohio State and Penn State. 7th ranked Penn State there, 3rd ranked Ohio State. So, again, honestly, I think Penn State might be the better team in that matchup, but we'll wait and see there. As we kind of look ahead and toward that timeline, that's going to be one of the biggest games of the year in college football. I mean, when Penn State plays Michigan, Ohio State plays Michigan, depending on the winner, that's going to be important there. Very, very important for that Big Ten division to be decided. So we'll just continue to look at things there and toward the overall timeline. I know for the weather for that one, just we're on the topic in Columbus, Ohio, Saturday. There is a chance of rain, so that could have an impact on the game. And just very early look at things. Temperatures in the 50s, or the chance of rain, kind of like maybe what you'd expect in a way from what I've seen in past big games up there in that conference. So 40% chance right now. So again, 59 degrees for the afternoon high anyways. Maybe not quite that warm when we're looking toward the actual kickoff time in Columbus there. But again, you can kind of watch different things here with the weather. Of course, we're on the different platforms. I know some folks, I see Marcus asking about different things. The antenna's a way to go here as well with different things in terms of different platforms too for some of your different informational needs. Have a great night, everybody. Have a great night, everybody. Have a great weekend as we're looking ahead in toward that timeline.